Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing the Totally Should've book tag. So this book tag was originally created by MagicOfBooks, and the premise of this tag, kind of like what the title suggests, totally should've. There's a list of 11 questions here, and they all basically start with totally should've this, or totally should've that. So let's just get going, and y'all get the feel of it as I go through. So question number 1, totally should've got a sequel, and my immediate response to this question was Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. You may be thinking to yourself, God damn, that book is 1,000+ pages. Why the hell does it need a sequel? And I will tell you why it needs a sequel. It needs a sequel just because. I don't know, the book was perfect, I think. I think Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell was pretty much damn near perfect, but the manner in which it ends, there's something kind of abrupt about the ending, and something about the ending that leaves you hanging a bit, and has you questioning the future of this magical world. So, I don't know, I feel like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell would definitely benefit from a second book because I want some answers. I left the book with so many questions, I want some answers. And there is a rumor that Susanna Clarke is possibly working on a sequel, but I don't know how true that is. I think it's a rumor more than anything. But yeah, if Susanna Clarke decided to make a sequel to Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, I would be happy. Question number 2, totally should have had a spin-off series. And maybe this is a cheat answer here, because I think we all want this. I put Harry Potter. More specifically, The Marauders. I think ever since Prisoner of Azkaban, a lot of us fans of Harry Potter, we've really been wanting like a prequel series with the Marauders, consisting of Harry's dad and friends and whatnot, and Sirius Black. And yeah, I've always found the Marauders interesting, their whole dynamic and the things they got up to. I think that would make for a great spin-off series. Question number 3, author who should totally write more books. And it didn't take me too long to think about this one. I went with Arthur Golden. I think Arthur Golden has only written one book. I should have checked on Goodreads before I did this, but I think he's only done one book, and that was Memoirs of a Geisha. And I freaking love Memoirs of a Geisha. It is up there with my top historical fiction picks. Definitely within my top 5 or so of historical fiction. And Memoirs of a Geisha is just so freaking good, just so beautifully written, so descriptive, such fascinating characters. You really feel part of that world. And it's such a shame that Arthur Golden, I don't think he's ever written anything else, and I think he needs to. Question number 4, character who totally should have ended up with someone else. And this might be a wee bit of a spoiler. I'm not quite sure how to go about doing this. I'll put a little marker down here on the bottom of the screen. If you don't want to know the spoiler here, then the marker here will take you to the next question. But yeah, the spoiler that I'm going to get into, it's going to come from the Eon/Iona duology by Alison Goodman. So if you don't want to know the spoiler, click away now and you'll go to the next question. So yeah, my answer to this question, the character who should have totally ended up with someone else, I decided to go with Iona and Lord Ido. Let's just say I was pretty bitter at the end of this duology, you guys. The whole little duology, Alison Goodman had this love triangle going on between Iona, Prince Kygo, and Lord Ido. And Prince Kygo being the good guy, and Lord Ido being the antagonist. Me and my preferences for dark, angsty, tormented, evil guys, I immediately wanted to ship Iona with Lord Ido, and I wanted the two of them to be together in the end. That did not happen. So yes, I am very, very upset and bitter. I read the book a couple months ago and I'm still upset. And, you know, the thing is, Alison Goodman, I think she did such a good job with characterizing Lord Ido. I think Lord Ido was one of the most fascinating characters in both books. And yeah, just, I don't know, the way his character was handled by the end, it was just, I don't know, I just didn't really like it. I didn't really appreciate it that much. It just had me all sorts of upset. And yeah, I think Ido and Iona had some of the best, most sexy chemistry with one another compared to her and Prince Kygo. Whereas Iona and Kygo, I felt like Kygo was often very rude to her and sometimes a little bit sexist, and I never really felt like Ido was that way to Iona. Ido always told Iona what was up, never candy-coated anything, you know, whereas I think Kygo always candy-coated things around Iona. So yeah, I could go on for hours about this love triangle, but yeah, my answer to this question, I wanted Iona to end up with Lord Ido. Does anyone else share this opinion? Please comment down below if you share my opinion. Okay, so that rant is over. Question number 5. Totally should have ended differently. And I had a difficult time with this question because a lot of times I don't really necessarily have issues with endings of books. Endings of books may leave me a little disappointed or frustrated or upset, but once you sit and think about it and analyze it, you understand why the author did what they did. You know, there's nothing you can do about it. But I decided to go with book 3 of his Dark Materials, The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. I'm not quite sure why exactly I would have liked this book to end differently. There was just something about this series. I think it was always going to end the way that it was going to end. It just, the last book left me kind of depressed, I guess. It left me kind of depressed, and it left me thinking. That's for sure. It certainly left me thinking. But yeah, it left me also kind of depressed and in a really low place, I suppose. I don't know. It's hard to describe Amber Spyglass without giving away spoilers. But yeah, I wish Amber Spyglass had ended differently, I suppose. Question number 6. Totally should have had a movie franchise. And I guess what this question is saying, a book that had an adaptation, but the adaptation was only the one movie. So I decided to go with A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. It only had the one movie starring Jim Carrey as Count Olaf. And these books would have been great as a movie franchise, I think. There was nothing wrong with that first movie. I really like the first movie whenever I sit and rewatch it. Nothing wrong with it at all. I guess, I don't know if it was a blockbuster or flop, maybe. The good news is, though, A Series of Unfortunate Events, even though it's not continuing as a movie franchise, it is continuing as a TV series, which I'm very excited. Netflix finally bought it. I think they're in the middle of filming right now. Definitely cannot wait for this TV series. Should be really, really good, and give the books some justice, I think. Question number 7. Totally should have had a TV show. And I think the same as the question above it, a book that got an adaptation that was turned into a movie, but that flopped as well, so maybe it should have been turned into a TV series. So I decided to go with The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. The first book in the series, Eragon, was turned into a movie, but that didn't do very well. And I think The Inheritance Cycle would do very, very good as a TV series. It's such a complex world with so many characters. I mean, it's the same reason why I think A Song of Ice and Fire benefits so well from a TV series rather than a movie series. You know, I think the same thing can be said for The Inheritance Cycle. I think a lot of fantasy books, they strive to be the next Lord of the Rings. And the thing is, Lord of the Rings was just one of those things that was happenstance. You know, Lord of the Rings just happened to have the right director, the right cast, the right crew and production, and they worked incredibly well as movies. And so yeah, I think a lot of fantasy books strive to be the next Lord of the Rings, and it doesn't really work, you know. Lord of the Rings, I think, is kind of a one-time only thing, and it's never going to happen again. And I think the best format for fantasy books nowadays, thanks, I think, mostly to A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. Yeah, TV is the best way to go, I think. And I think Inheritance Cycle would definitely do very, very well. Plus, Game of Thrones only has a couple seasons left, so there's going to be a void in the television universe that there's not going to be a fantasy show. So I think a lot of shows are going to be competing with one another to try and become the next Game of Thrones. So Inheritance Cycle, even though it's not up there as far as the brilliance of Game of Thrones, you know, and plus Game of Thrones is like rated R, or NC-17 sometimes, and Inheritance Cycle is more like PG-13. So, I don't know, I think Inheritance Cycle, it can go on a network and kind of be aimed more towards children and young adults, you know, and fill that Game of Thrones void. Question number 8 totally should have had one point of view. And I didn't quite understand what this question meant, like a point of view, like multiple points of view in a book, I suppose, which made me think of like something like A Song of Ice and Fire. There's multiple points of view going on in that series, so I'm assuming that's what the question means. And I don't have an answer for this question because I was looking around at all of my books that do have multiple point of view chapters, and nothing struck me as being awkward or strange or weird. I think all of the books that I have that do have multiple points of view, I think they all work. So yeah, I have no answer for this question, unfortunately. Question number 9 totally should have had a cover change. And I had a quick answer for this one, you guys. I decided to pick the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind. Let me just show you some of these covers really quickly. We have Wizard's First Rule, and then Stone of Tears, and Blood of the Fold. And you know what all these books have in common? Ugly ass covers. You know, this is the problem with fantasy in general. What the hell is wrong with fantasy cover makers? I mean, seriously, you guys need to get with the program. Fantasy covers are some of the most ugly covers I have ever seen in my life. And you know, fantasy is supposed to be this exciting, action-packed genre, and the covers don't reflect how exciting fantasy could be. And I love the Sword of Truth series. These are such incredibly good books, and the covers suck. They are so ugly. I wish they had cover changes. Question number 10 totally should have kept the original covers, and I think we all have this problem. You get a series, it starts off with a set of covers, and then halfway through the series, the covers change, and it's frustrating, and then it doesn't look right on your shelf. So I decided to go with the Cousins War series by Philippa Gregory. I'll show you the first 3 books in this series. We have The Lady of the Rivers, and then The White Queen, and then The Red Queen. And as you can tell, these 3 books have very similar designs and a look to them. I mean, just the whole style of the book, front and back, and even the side, they're all very, very similar. So then we get to the next 3 books in the series. The Kingmaker's Daughter, The White Princess, and The King's Curse. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with these covers. I think they're beautiful in their own way, but this is part of the same series, and the covers don't match, and it's just kind of frustrating. Maybe something shallow? Oh well, but it kind of just irks me personally a little bit. And the final question totally should have stopped at book 1, and my immediate response to this one was Child 44 by Tom Rob Smith. Whew, okay, here's what you need to know. Child 44, very much like Memoirs of a Geisha that I mentioned earlier in this video, Child 44 is definitely up there in some of my favorite historical fiction. And, oh man, this series is bad. Child 44 is absolutely amazing and stunning and flawless. It has such a great story and concept and themes and characters. And then you get books 2 and 3 in the series, and it just completely diverges away from that first book, I suppose. It's hard to explain unless you've read all of the books, but yeah, I just did not like books 2 and 3 at all. I found them very boring. and just nothing of interest really happening. And I found myself just not liking the characters as much, which is a shame. So yeah, I wish Tom Rob Smith, instead of doing a trilogy, I wish he had just stuck with Child 44, and that been it. So that's it for this tag. I hope you guys enjoyed. So time to tag some people. I'm terrible with tagging. If you want to do this tag, then do it. I tag you. If you're watching this, I tag you. And if you do end up doing it, send it my way so I can watch it and comment on your video. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.